Look around you. You've watched others rise, others win, others live the life you've been dreaming about. You've applauded their victories, studied their habits, maybe even envied their results. And deep down, a question is burning inside you, why not me? Why am I still waiting? Why am I still watching? The truth is, nothing is holding you back but the choices you haven't made, the action you haven't taken, the belief you haven't claimed. Today, that stops. Today, you step off the sidelines. Today, you decide that your time is now and your life is yours to claim. You know, there comes a moment in every person's life when you look around and realize you've been sitting on the sidelines, watching others rise, watching others win, watching people with no more talent, no more potential, no more opportunity than you do the very things you keep saying you'll do someday. And you start to wonder, why not me? Why am I still watching life happen instead of living it? The truth is, most people don't lose because they aren't capable. They lose because they never step into the game. They get so caught up in observing other people's success that they start to believe it's something special, something reserved for the lucky few, the gifted, the chosen. But it's not. The difference between those who win and those who watch as this winners stopped waiting for permission. They made a decision that their life was going to mean something. They stopped asking, can I do this? And started asking, how do I make this real? And every single day, life gives you a mirror. It reflects back exactly who you're to being, not who you hope to be, but who you are right now. And most people can't stand to look too long because deep down, that reflection shows the gap between potential and performance. It shows the truth that you've been avoiding the hard work, the discipline, the risk, because watching is safer than trying. Watching means you can't fail. Watching means you can stay comfortable. But let me tell you something, comfort is a slow poison. It feels warm, it feels safe, but it's stealing your future one day at a time. Every time you say, I'll start next week, or it's not the right time, you're handing your dream to someone else who's willing to act. Now, the people you see winning, they're not always smarter, they're not always more skilled, but they made a decision. They said, enough. I'm done being a spectator. And the moment they said that, everything changed. You see, transformation doesn't begin when the conditions are perfect. It begins when you get tired of your own excuses. When you get tired of seeing other people live the life you were meant to live. When you stop saying, I wish, and start saying, I will, that's when the fire starts to burn again. That's when you take back your power. The mirror moment is uncomfortable, but it's necessary because that reflection doesn't lie. It's honest. It shows you what needs to change. And the truth is, you already know what needs to change. You know the habits that hold you back. You know the fears that keep you small. You know the patterns that rob your energy and your time. The question is, are you willing to confront them? Are you willing to do what others won't so you can live how others can't? Every person who ever achieved something extraordinary went through that moment of truth, that point where they had to look themselves in the eye and say, no more waiting, no more wishing, no more half trying. They had to stop being the observer and start being the creator. Because you can't build a masterpiece if you never pick up the brush. You can't rewrite your story if you never touch the pen. Maybe you've been watching people on social media thinking they're just lucky. Maybe you've convinced yourself that success is for them, not you. But the only difference is they believed they could, and they acted before they felt ready. You don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just have to begin. Clarity doesn't come before action, it comes because of action. So ask yourself, what if today, right now, you stopped waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect version of yourself, and you just decided to start? What if you made this the day you stopped being the audience and became the main character? The world doesn't need another dreamer. It needs another door. You've spent enough time watching others rise. You've applauded their victories, studied their habits, maybe even envied their results. But that energy you spent watching others, that's fuel. You can redirect it. You can use it. You can take that admiration and turn it into action. Because here's the truth. If you can see greatness in someone else, it's because that greatness already exists within you. You wouldn't recognize it otherwise. What you admire in others is a mirror of what's possible for you. So when you feel that spark of envy, that ache of, I wish that were me, don't push it away. Use it. Let it remind you that you're capable of more. Let it push you toward your own reflection until you're finally ready to meet the person you were meant to become. You've watched long enough. You've studied long enough. Now it's time to do the one thing that changes everything. Decide. Decide to stop watching your potential pass you by. Decide to step into the arena. Decide that your time starts now because the mirror is waiting and it's asking one simple question, why not you? Let's talk about responsibility for a moment because this is where most people stop themselves without even realizing it. We all want things to happen, but the truth is nothing happens to you until you decide it happens through you. Most people are waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone to hand them permission or a shortcut. But here's the hard truth. No one is coming. Life isn't waiting for your schedule, and success doesn't knock politely at your door. You have to step into it, grab it, and make it yours. And that starts with ownership. Ownership isn't just a concept, it's a decision. It's saying, I am responsible for my life. I am responsible for my results. I am responsible for my happiness and my growth. And when you take that level of responsibility, something magical happens. The excuses disappear. the blame disappears. The fear of failure loses its grip. When you stop pointing fingers at the economy, your upbringing, your boss, or your circumstances, you realize something powerful. The only thing holding you back has always been you. Think about it. Every time you say, I can't because, you're giving your power away. You're handing it to something outside yourself. And every time you say, I choose to, you reclaim it. Ownership isn't about guilt. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about clarity. It's about seeing the truth that your life is the sum of the decisions you make or fail to make. And once you embrace that truth, you're no longer a spectator in your own story. You are the author. And here's the secret most people missed. Responsibility feels heavy at first. It feels like pressure. It feels like too much to carry. But that pressure is exactly what transforms you. It's the weight that builds strength, the challenge that builds skill, the demand that builds character. Winners understand that responsibility is freedom, not limitation. The moment you stop blaming and start owning, you unlock an energy you didn't even know you had. You stop waiting for someone else to solve your problems and start creating your own solutions. Think about someone you admire who seems to have it all together. They're not perfect. They've failed more than you've imagined. They've faced setbacks, pain, disappointment, and yet they keep moving forward. Why? Because they refuse to play the victim. They refuse to give their power away to circumstance. They know that the only way to win is to say, this is my life and I am in control. Taking ownership means looking at your habits, your choices, your daily actions, and asking, are these creating the life I want? If the answer is no, then change what you can. Stop blaming the past. Stop waiting for someone else to fix your future. Stop letting fear dictate your actions. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond, and that response is everything. It's where all growth, all progress, and all transformation begins. When you take ownership, you stop living by default. You stop drifting. You stop being carried by circumstance or other people's decisions. You start living intentionally. Every action, every choice, every decision becomes an expression of your power, of your commitment to yourself. You're no longer hoping things will change, you're making them change. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Owning your life is scary because it forces you to confront your fears, your failures, and your limitations. But that confrontation is exactly what leads to growth. No one grows by hiding. No one transforms by blaming. Transformation begins when you face yourself with honesty, with courage, and with a refusal to settle for less than you're capable of. So here's the truth. You have everything you need to start right now. You have your mind, your energy, your will, and your decisions. The rest is just noise, distractions, and excuses. Stop giving your power away to them. Stop waiting for someone else to pave the way. Stop hoping that life will hand you what you deserve. You get what you create. You get what you claim. You get what you decide. Every moment you spend blaming or waiting is a moment wasted. Every time you hand over your power, you're letting life happen to you instead of through you. But the moment you step into responsibility, you step into freedom. The moment you decide to own your life, you stop being a passenger and start driving. You stop wishing and start acting. You stop watching and start building. So ask yourself right now, in this moment, will you keep waiting for someone else to make your life happen, or will you take it into your own hands? Will you continue drifting along, or will you finally decide that your future is yours to create? The choice is simple. Own it. Let's talk about something most people get wrong when they watch others succeed. They call it luck. They see someone achieving greatness and say, wow, they were just lucky. That would never happen to me. And that's the trap. That's the illusion that keeps so many people small, waiting for some magic moment that may never come. But here's the truth. Luck is not magic. Luck is not random. Luck is the byproduct of preparation, of discipline, of showing up when everyone else is distracted, tired, or afraid. You see, people want the glory of winning without the grind of becoming. They want the applause without the early mornings, without the late nights, without the countless failures that lead to mastery. But the reality is, every person you've ever admired, every person you've ever called lucky, has a story behind that moment of triumph. They've spent years stacking small wins, building habits, learning from mistakes, and refusing to quit when it would have been easier to give up. They didn't stumble into success. They constructed it brick by brick. And here's the challenge. Most people aren't willing to do the work that luck demands. They see the finish line, they see the trophy, they see the applause, and they want it instantly. But life doesn't reward instant gratification. Life rewards persistence, resilience, and the ability to keep moving forward when the odds are stacked against you. The person you call lucky isn't sitting around waiting for the universe to hand them what they want. They're actively creating their reality every single day in ways you don't see. The irony is, the same opportunities that created their success are available to you. The difference is not in the cards you were dealt. The difference is in your willingness to play, to risk, to keep learning, to keep acting, even when the results aren't immediate. Every time you tell yourself, I'll wait until the right moment, or I'll start when conditions are perfect, you're giving away your chance at your own version of luck. There's no perfect moment. There's only the moment you decide to act. Let me ask you this. What would happen if you stopped seeing luck as something outside of yourself? What if you realized that every lucky person had mastered the art of creating their own luck? They took risks that scared them. They embraced challenges that seemed impossible. They invested in themselves when no one else would. They understood that luck favors action, favors persistence, favors those who refuse to be denied by fear or doubt. And that's exactly what you have to do. Here's the hard truth. You can't control what happens to you. You can't guarantee success. You can't force the world to hand you an opportunity. But you can control how you respond. You can control how hard you work, how consistently you show up, and how determined you are to turn every setback into a stepping stone. That is where luck is born, in action, in commitment, in refusal to settle for anything less than what you know is possible. Most people miss this because they focus on outcomes instead of process. They see the win and think it was effortless, when in reality, the win is just the visible tip of a massive iceberg of preparation, sacrifice, and resilience. Every person who ever achieved something extraordinary felt doubt, faced failure, and had moments when quitting would have been easier. The difference between them and everyone else was one choice: they kept moving forward. They treated every challenge as an opportunity. They treated every failure as feedback, and they understood that the grind is the true game. And here's what's exciting. This means the same principles apply to you. The same rules that created their luck can create yours. You don't need permission. You don't need a handout. You don't need to wait for some cosmic alignment. You need one thing to start, to act, to show up consistently, and to refuse to be stopped by fear, doubt, or discomfort. Every day you take control, every time you choose action over hesitation, you're stacking the deck in your favor. You're creating your own luck, your own opportunities, your own breakthroughs. So when you see others winning, don't envy them. Study them, learn what they did consistently that you're not doing. And then don't just imitate, adapt, and own it. Make it your own. The truth is, you already have everything you need to start building your own momentum. You just have to take that first step and commit to showing up again and again, even when it's hard. The people who win aren't waiting for luck to find them. They're busy creating it. And the same opportunity exists for you every single day. It's not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. Luck isn't out there. Luck is inside you, waiting for your action to bring it to life. Let's talk about something most people completely underestimate: the voice inside their own head. That voice, the one that whispers, "You're not ready, you can't do this, maybe someone else is better." That voice is the one that keeps more people small than any external obstacle ever could. And the truth is, that voice isn't the truth. It's just a habit, a pattern, a story you've been telling yourself for years. But here's the key: the story you tell yourself becomes the reality you live in. Every limitation you feel, every fear you carry, every doubt that slows you down, it all starts with that inner dialogue. Most people don't realize that they are their own worst enemy. They allow that voice to define their possibilities, to decide what they can and cannot do, to shape their actions or inactions. But you don't have to. You have the power to interrupt that conversation and rewrite it. You have the power to choose a story that serves you instead of one that limits you. Here's the thing about belief: it precedes action. You cannot take the actions that lead to extraordinary results if you don't first believe they are possible. And that belief doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from the choices you make in your mind every single day. Every time you tell yourself, "I can't," you are training your mind to see obstacles. Every time you say, "I can," you are training your mind to see opportunities. It's that simple. And yet, most people never practice it. They leave it to chance, and they wonder why they feel stuck. Your mind is a tool, and like any tool, it works best when you master it. You have to become conscious of your thoughts, aware of the stories you repeat, deliberate about the beliefs you cultivate. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Is it helping me move forward, or is it keeping me in the same place? And then take action to change it. Change the words you speak to yourself. Change the images you allow in your mind. Change the patterns you repeat unconsciously every day. Because transformation begins inside before it shows up outside. The people who achieve what most consider impossible, they didn't start with perfect circumstances. They didn't start without fear or doubt. They started with a belief that their inner voice could serve them instead of control them. They made a decision to speak to themselves differently, to feed themselves courage instead of hesitation, possibility instead of limitation. And that decision changed everything. Most people wait for external validation to feel worthy, to feel capable, to feel like they can succeed. They wait for someone else to give them permission, to tell them it's okay to step forward. But the only permission you need is the permission you give yourself. And that starts with the voice inside your head. When you choose to empower that voice, when you choose to train it to speak possibility, it becomes a compass instead of a cage. It guides you toward the actions, the decisions, and the courage you need to take the next step. Fear will still show up. Doubt will still creep in. But when you have a strong inner dialogue, you don't let those feelings control you. You acknowledge them, but you don't obey them. You say, "I see you, but I am moving forward anyway." That's how breakthroughs happen. That's how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Not because they had fewer fears, but because they learned to talk to themselves in a way that made fear fuel action instead of paralyzing it. You can begin this process today. Start by listening. Listen to the thoughts that replay automatically in your mind. Notice the judgments, the excuses, the negative predictions, then challenge them. Ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Or is this just a story I've been telling myself? And when you catch the lie, replace it immediately. Replace it with a statement of possibility, a statement of action, a statement that moves you forward. It doesn't happen overnight. Your mind is used to thinking a certain way. It's used to repeating old patterns. But the more consistently you interrupt those patterns and replace them with empowering thoughts, the stronger your new belief system becomes. And as your beliefs grow, your actions will follow. And as your actions follow, your results will follow. So if you've been waiting for someone else to tell you it's your time, stop. The voice that matters most is already inside you. The only permission you need, the only validation that counts is the one you give yourself. Speak to yourself with courage, clarity, and conviction. Feed yourself belief, not doubt. Feed yourself action, not hesitation. The story you tell yourself is the life you create. Let's talk about fear for a moment, because fear is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people think fear is something to avoid, something that signals danger, something that means stop. And that's why so many people never step forward. They see fear and freeze, thinking it's a warning. But here's the truth: fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal. Fear is information. Fear is an invitation to grow. Every person who's ever achieved something extraordinary has felt fear. They have faced it, stared it down, and used it as fuel instead of offense. Fear shows up in many forms. It shows up as doubt, as hesitation, as procrastination, as that voice whispering, "You're not ready." It shows up as worry about what others will think, worry about failing, worry about looking foolish. And most people listen to it. Most people let it dictate their choices. But the moment you start to see fear differently, everything changes. Fear is not a stop sign, it's a guided post. It's pointing you toward the areas where growth is possible, where transformation is waiting, where the life you want exists on the other side. The people you admire, the ones who seem unstoppable, they don't lack fear, they feel it, they recognize it, and they act anyway, they step into it. They don't wait until fear disappears, because fear never disappears, it's always there. But they've learned the most important lesson: courage is not the absence of fear, courage is action in spite of it. Every time you move toward fear instead of away from it, you expand your capacity, you build confidence, you create momentum that propels you forward. Think about the times you've held yourself back, the opportunities you didn't take, the risks you didn't embrace. Chances are fear was standing in the way. And yet, what you wanted, what you were capable of achieving, was on the other side. Fear isn't there to protect you, it's there to test you. It's there to see if you're willing to claim your life, to see if you're willing to grow into the person who can handle the responsibility of success. And the truth is, the person who conquers fear isn't fearless. They are disciplined in their response. They've learned how to convert fear into focus, into energy, into a driving force that moves them forward. The challenge is that fear is uncomfortable. It feels heavy, it feels real, it feels convincing, and your mind will give you every reason to avoid it. But comfort is the enemy of progress. Comfort keeps you small, safe, and average. If you want more, if you want to live a life worth living, you have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to learn to move through fear, not around it. Every time you step into fear, you stretch the limits of what you believe is possible. Every time you do what scares you, you grow stronger. Every time you refuse to be paralyzed, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you realized. The way to master fear is not to try to eliminate it, because that's impossible. The way to master fear is to see it clearly, to name it, to understand it, and then to act in spite of it. When fear shows up, ask yourself, what is this fear teaching me? What is it pointing me toward? How can I use it as fuel instead of offense? That perspective shift changes everything. Suddenly, fear is no longer a stop sign. It's a signal that you're on the edge of growth, on the edge of your next level, on the edge of the life you want. And here's what's exciting: the more you practice moving toward fear, the easier it becomes. Not because fear disappears, because your confidence grows. You learn that you can handle more than you thought. You learn that failure isn't fatal, that discomfort isn't dangerous, and that hesitation is a choice, not a requirement. The more you take action in the presence of fear, the more fearless you become, not because fear goes away, but because you've learned that you are bigger than fear. You are stronger than the voice that tells you to quit. You are capable of doing what others won't. So the next time fear shows up, and it will, don't shrink from it. Don't argue with it. Don't ignore it. Step into it. Let it guide you. Let it challenge you. Let it fuel you. Use it as evidence that you are pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone. Use it as proof that you are growing. Every great life, every extraordinary achievement, every breakthrough has been built on the other side of fear. And your life is no different. Fear is not the wall you run from. Fear is the door you walk through. Now we arrive at the moment where everything comes together, the moment that separates those who keep watching life happen from those who finally step into it. You've watched others win. You've seen people rise, achieve, succeed. And maybe you've felt that pang of envy, that ache of longing, that silent question in your heart. Why not me? And the answer isn't complicated. It's never been about talent, luck, or opportunity. It's been about decision. The moment you decide, truly decide, that your life will not be defined by hesitation, fear, or doubt, everything changes. Deciding is more than just thinking about it. Deciding is commitment. Deciding is action. It's the difference between sitting in your seat, clapping for someone else's victory, and stepping onto the field to claim your own. Too many people wait for certainty, wait for perfect conditions, wait for someone else to give them permission. But life doesn't wait. And conditions are never perfect. The difference between winners and watchers is simple. Winners decide to start before they feel ready. They commit to action even in the face of uncertainty, and that commitment creates momentum that carries them forward. Think about the times you've hesitated, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the ideas you didn't pursue, the risks you didn't take. Each time, you didn't fail because you lacked ability. You failed because you didn't decide, you didn't commit. You didn't say, this is my time, this is my life, I will make it happen. And every moment spent hesitating is a moment wasted, a moment that someone else is using to build what could have been yours. Decision is not just about starting, it's about persistence. It's about looking at setbacks and saying, I will keep moving forward anyway. It's about refusing to quit when the world pushes back, when obstacles arise, when fear shows up. Every person who has achieved extraordinary results has made a series of small, relentless decisions to keep going, to keep showing up, to keep believing in themselves, even when it seemed impossible. And that series of decisions compounds, momentum builds, confidence grows, and suddenly what once seemed unreachable becomes inevitable. The power of asking, why not me, is enormous. It changes the conversation inside your mind. It challenges the stories you've been telling yourself. It forces you to confront the excuses, the doubts, the fears that have been holding you back. Why not me? Because so far you've been waiting, because so far you've been hesitant, because so far you've been giving your power to circumstance, to timing, to other people. But that question flips everything upside down. It makes you see that the only real barrier is yourself. And once you see it, you can break through it. Every winner knows this success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who decide, act, and refuse to quit. The people you admire didn't wait for opportunity. They created it. They didn't wait for confidence. They didn't build it through action. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They started anyway. And the same is true for you. You have everything you need. You have the power. You have the potential. What's missing isn't skill, isn't intelligence, isn't luck. It's the decision to finally claim it. Decision is immediate. It doesn't require months of preparation. It doesn't require approval from anyone else. The moment you decide, energy shifts inside you. You feel it. You feel movement. You feel power returning to your hands. The universe responds to decisiveness. Momentum begins to build. Doors start to open that seemed closed. Opportunities appear that you couldn't have predicted. And most importantly, you stop being a spectator in your own life. You start being the creator, the actor, the champion of your own story. So right now, you have a choice. You can keep watching, keep waiting, keep hoping that someday it will be your turn. You can decide right here, right now, that you will step forward, that you will act, that you will take ownership of your life and refuse to let fear, doubt, or hesitation hold you back another day. That decision doesn't guarantee instant success. It doesn't erase challenges or remove obstacles, but it does guarantee one thing: forward movement. And movement is everything. Momentum is everything. Progress is everything. Every person who has ever achieved what you want has faced the same crossroads you are facing now. And the people who win aren't the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. They are the ones who decide to act, the ones who refuse to delay, the ones who choose to step into their own greatness despite fear, uncertainty, and risk. And that decision, that willingness to ask, why not me, is what changes everything. You've watched long enough. You've waited long enough. It's time to decide.